All right, well, here's the cart that I finished the other day for the Stover, and it raises it up some, and it put wheels under it, so it's pretty easy to roll around now. And I've started this a couple times. I'm going to start it right now again, and we'll see how it goes. But it was quite a chore getting the shims just right. I'm still getting a little bit of play on this side in the bearing on the crank. The other one seems tight. The rod bearing seems to be perfect. Everything's great. So what I found is that it runs best at about 3/4 turn on the throttle, but I start it at about 1.5. So we're going to turn it to 1.5. We're going to choke. Got to get my gloves here. And really, it usually just takes one pull to get some gas flowing. Yep, it's flowing. And then a couple more pulls after that to get it going. So we'll see how it goes. I had a little lean there. You can sort of see how the flywheel on the left side wobbles a little bit. I'm not sure if that's just a bad casting or if there's just too much play in the bearing on the crank on that side. Otherwise, it runs great. Once you get it going, it really only takes a couple cranks once you choke it. I am leaking some oil around the case, that cover, and I'll have to attend to that. I put some new gaskets in, but they must have gotten off-centered a little bit. So I'm dripping oil and making a big mess here, but that's it. The Stover is alive, and it runs. I'll be taking this to the ag show up in Redmond in Central Oregon in just a couple of weeks at the end of March. All right, well, there you go. Thanks for hanging in there with this project. Took forever, but we got it going, and we're excited. All right, this is sort of just a wrap up on the little green engine, the Stover. I believe it's about a 1930s, maybe late 20s motor. I believe it's got the original paint on it. Looks like it has a different head because it's painted a little bit different color. I got this a couple years ago, and the bracket here was broken, and so the magneto, something had fallen off workbench and broke it, and the magneto didn't have a way to connect. So I found a new bracket on eBay, and I had the magneto checked out by a guy at the Steam Up in Oregon. He works out of the Caterpillar building or museum, and he has a tester, and so he replaced some component on the inside, I think a capacitor or something, and got the magneto to work and tested it, and it worked great. The only problem I've had is the snapping mechanism, getting all the adjustments correct to get it to snap and throw a good healthy spark. And what I found is it snaps every time, but sometimes it comes off twice in two motions. one magnet and then the other magnet, and because of that the spark was really weak and it just wouldn't ignite the chamber. So working through the adjustments, I also figured out the timing, how to set the timing appropriately. I've got a mark on this flywheel over here to help with that. And I also found the bearings were broken on the inside, and so I've replaced those. The difficulty was building up, because you put new bearings in there, they're a lot thicker than the old ones because the old ones are worn. And so you have to put some shims, you have to make some shims and add additional shims in there so that it's not too tight on the bearings, the crank and the rod. So I've never done any of that before. I'm not a machinist, and so I made some out of some deck brackets and things with a hacksaw and a jigsaw and a grinder and a drill, and that worked pretty well. And I still have a little bit of play in this side, not too much, but I do think I need to get inside maybe and take one more small shim out of this side and then button it up again. So I have that to do. I'm also leaking quite a bit of oil around the gaskets. I think I know how to fix that. I have some new gaskets I'm going to put in there. But I've got it to where it runs, and I think I know how to start it. I can start it in about 4 or 5 pulls after choking it once. And the setting on the carburetor here is at about 3/4. It seems like 3/4 of a turn out seems like where it runs the best. So that's nice to have learned that and figured that out. Also built this cart over the weekend, last week, and I'm not real happy with the front wheels because they only turn one way. Not sure why that is, so I'm gonna take a look at those and see if I can figure that out. But I need to put a handle on it so that you can pull it, and I need to make sure that I can get it up my ramp onto my trailer, because I'll be taking it to tractor shows and things. So the last thing is to firm up the crank bearings, and I'm always just afraid of tightening them too tight. I've got them set at 20 pounds of torque on the bolts that hold down the crank bearings, and maybe I need more than that, or maybe I just need to take another shim out on each side. So I'll be looking at that, and that's really just fine tuning. And then the oil leak is the only other issue. I've had trouble with this timing getting off just from running it, and the spark snapper losing its power just from using it. So I'll be watching that. I think I know how to adjust it now, and we'll talk about that in just a second. I'm going to turn this around and then show you the adjustments for the timing and the snapping mechanism, just so you see that. All right, so there's about 3 or 4 adjustments on this. You can adjust the distance on this bar here. It goes into here, and there's you have to take it all off and out. And inside this spring is a small adjustment kind of in the back here. There's also these 2 bolts or nuts or bolts right here, and that moves this whole thing this way and that way. I found that this is really the timing adjustment. I've got a timing mark on the flywheel. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right here. And this is, when this gets right there, that's top dead center, and you see that that just snapped. And that's a function of where this mechanism is. So I originally had it set too far this way, and it was snapping way up here, and it just wouldn't run. So once I corrected that, it started right up. So this is the adjustment for the timing right here. And then there's an adjustment here, this plunger right here, Let me show you this here. There's a spring. This thing is spring loaded to push itself up, and so it rests against this little bolt head right here. And as you turn this, it compresses this spring, and then eventually it gets so much energy in it that it snaps this and pulls that down really fast. That's what creates the spark, and I've got a little spark bubble in here in line to make sure that I can see the spark when it's happening. But this thing dictates, you know, you don't want this to pull away before this goes below that and makes it snap. So the adjustment here is how much you push down on, how much the elevation that you set this in relation to this ridge right here. So that those two adjustments are the ones that make the most difference. There are others. There's a nut behind here, and you can adjust the spring here. And you know, I've got some wear here, and I've got some wear down here. There's even some wear inside here with this snapping mechanism. And then there's a armature, a rod that sticks up inside here that also can get worn. Then there's a point setting inside the magneto, and I've had that set for a long time, so I'm not messing with that. That seems to be working fine. So I've got this set for the timing, and then I've got this this relationship right here set to snap all at once and not pull away and then snap. So you got to get the snap really robust. So anyway, that's what I've done here, and everything else seems to be working great. I had a little trouble with the gas tank. My pipe down into the gas tank, which is underneath the engine, right under here, and it's about 20 inches long. It's a big square, kind of rectangle can. There's a one-way valve in there. I forget what it's called. There's a name for it. But it sucks the gas up but won't let it go back down. And so that quit working today, and I just wasn't getting any fuel in here in the carb. When I choke it, there would be no gas coming out. And that was because that ball valve in the bottom of that tube has to work in order for the gas to come up but not be able to go back. If the ball valve is open all the time, then the gas just falls right back in, and you can never get any gas up here on a regular basis to get into the cylinder. So that's kind of the essence of this whole thing. I'm very excited that I think I know how to start it now. I know how to adjust it, and I can check the timing every now and then just visually to see if this mark is here when that spark goes off, and if I can tell if the spark is a bright spark or a very dim one. So that seems to work well too. So anyway, there you go. Stover. It's a 2-horse. It says here. I always thought it was a 1.5 horse. It's a CT1, and we've got it running, and we're going to put it on display. The next thing is to figure out what to operate with it. I'll try to find a sprocket or a pulley for the other side. Move that flywheel in probably, and then there'll be room for a pulley over there, and I'll run something like an ice cream maker or a washing machine or something for displays at shows and things. So there it is. Thanks for hanging in there. See you all later.